The movie opens with a man and woman discussing their delinquent son. The movie reveals them as the father and mother of Hasumi, the main character of the film, who is a sociopath and has no empathy for other human beings. The father suspects him of the assassination of his tutor and wants to punish him and do away with him, while his mother cries and pleads with his father not to do so, as there is no proof, and he is only a 14-year-old teenager who doesn't know the difference between good and bad. At 14, he doesn't know good and bad? We see Hasumi, who is and holding a knife, going upstairs quietly. The mother startles in fear upon seeing the door slowly opening. The next scene moves to the present, where we see different teachers alongside Hasumi in a school meeting discussing students cheating. Hasumi reveals that the students use their phones and get their answers through email. He brings up a brilliant idea and reveals that since the students use their cell phones, it is a policy that they can't perform body searches. He suggests that they seek the help of the radio club advisor to jam their cell phones during tests and exams. Seeing that the idea breaches the law, the advisor and other teachers disagree with his suggestion. Hasumi is not happy that his idea was rejected. He then tells them to find another way. Another teacher is seen encouraging him and telling him he has high hopes for him and he should go for it. Mr. Hasumi is an English teacher loved by his peers and especially his students due to his friendly and optimistic nature, which is just a facade of his true colors. After class, 3 groups of friends discuss their English class lessons with Hasumi. They ask Reika for her opinion, and Reika quickly changes the topic by telling Kei, who is in charge of the cheating troupe, that rumors are spreading about the cheating method and his involvement. She asks him why he does it, and he reveals that it is meant to mess up their marking schemes, and he is confident that he won't get caught since he hasn't missed a single class in the semester. A man is smoking, and he is the father of a girl who is a victim of peer pressure, and he's furiously complaining that his daughter is experiencing torment at school. His rage escalates and he flings his cigarette at the desk and threatens to fight Hasumi, while Hasumi remains calm about it. During the PE session, we see a female student helping the PE teacher carry a post. He orders her to enter his office, which she seems hesitant about. 3 other female students stand from afar and observe the whole situation. The next morning, we see Hasumi doing a routine jogging around the woods right before getting ready for work. The next scene shows Hasumi fixing a lock, and 3 female students walk up to him to report that the female student involved with the PE teacher, now revealed as Mia, is being sexually by him. During another PE session, the PE teacher is seen being oddly violent with students during their fighting session. Hasumi proceeds to meet Mia in his truck to discuss it. Mia reveals that after the PE teacher discovers that she shoplifts, he starts blackmailing her with the recording of her confession to shoplifting by making her do favors for him. After that, Hasumi takes Mia to the store, and they both plead with the store manager to clear herself. Hasumi tells Mia to send a text to the PE teacher saying he can no longer blackmail her, as she has been cleared, and he will be the one in trouble if the story of him getting involved with a minor gets out. Hasumi tries to cheer Mia up by rubbing her head like he usually does with his students. He then tells Mia to go straight home. The next day, Hasumi collects students' phones during an exam and secretly implements his idea of jamming their cell phones, discussed in a prior meeting, to prevent cheating. During the exam, students struggle to use their phones due to a lack of service. Afterward, beats Kei, leaving him with bruises for not sharing the answers. Kei explains that their phones were jammed, and suspicions turn to the estranged advisor of the radio club. The advisor, seemingly eavesdropping, confronts them and denies responsibility for the phone jamming, cautioning them to be careful. The advisor is intensely focused on researching something called the weather effect on his computer. The following day, we see Hasumi staring at ravens and meditating about a pair of ravens in Norse mythology, whose names are Hugin, meaning thought, and Muninn, meaning memory, who patrol the world as agents of Odin. He explains that they bring tidings to Odin, who is the king of the gods. The scene transitions to students practicing an escape shoot, and then being seen in the nurse's office testing a medical tool. The tool records everything that is said as data to improve medical care. Back at school, the case arises again with evidence from an online site, but Hasumi dismisses it, refusing to acknowledge criticism from an anonymous source. The next scene shows Hasumi on his usual jogging route, passing by the victim's father's house, where he contemplates a plan involving water bottles on the fence. The following day, Mia tells Hasumi she wants to see him privately. They meet on the school roof. She instantly hugs him and appreciates him for what he did for her. The hug quickly turns into a heated kiss. Mia breaks the kiss, apologizes, and attempts to leave, but Hasumi drags her back, kisses her passionately, and then hugs her. A noise interrupts them, indicating someone else is on the roof. Hasumi quickly escorts Mia away and confronts the intruder, who turns out to be the school. Hasumi asks if the saw anything, but the doesn't give a clear answer. Hasumi then questions why the is on the roof, pointing out the wet floor as evidence of deception. They both dismiss each other and go their separate ways. Hasumi reassures Mia that everything is fine. Let's hope so. Meanwhile, the father, frustrated by his daughter's silence over her mistreatment, angrily throws his cigarette out, sparking a fire that destroys his house and leads to his demise. The following day, detectives investigating the house fire come to the school to report the incident to the teachers. They reveal that the water bottles on the fence, typically filled with water to deter cats, were filled with kerosene instead, causing the fire when the cigarette was thrown. Later, the advisor meets with the detectives to share his suspicions about Hasumi, linking him to incidents at a previous high school with a history of crimes. The detectives seem confused, but the advisor dismisses their concerns. Kei overhears the conversation and confronts the advisor about Hasumi, prompting the advisor to reveal his suspicions, which pique Kei's interest in Hasumi's past and the incidents at the previous high school. We see a male teacher having sexual relations with another male student. The next day, Hasumi is seen accusing the art teacher of being in a relationship with a student. Hasumi warns him about the consequences that come with their relationship, making the art teacher give in and admit the truth. He apologizes for it and promises not to do it again. Hasumi then blackmails the art teacher and tells him that he now owes him his life. Hasumi uses the opportunity to take the art teacher's expensive car and luxurious place. He takes Mia to the luxurious apartment where they consensually have intercourse. Damn, who would have seen that coming? Mia notices a scar on Hasumi's back when he is about to take a shower, and she gets curious and asks him, but Hasumi dismisses her and refuses to talk about it. At the library the next day, the three groups of friends discuss incidents at Hasidim's previous workplace, the high school, where 4 people there, 2 by one by jumping, and the other by carbon monoxide. It was called the weather effect, revealing what the advisor was researching the previous day. Kei brings up the discussion he had with the advisor about Hasumi. He tries to imply that Hasumi might be behind all the casualties since he worked there. Suddenly, Reika warns him to be careful of his suspicions, as she feels he is at risk of being in danger. Meanwhile, in class, a fight caused by the school's leads to chaos. He is enraged because he sees an anonymous post online accusing him of the house fire incident. Mia then recalls a conversation with Hasumi, who was asking her about joining the message boards online. Hasumi appears, stops the fight by coming in between the students, and proceeds to talk with the He offers him a drink, but the refuses. Mr. Hasumi convinces him when the says that he doesn't have any money. Hasumi asks to see the injured hand, but the insists that he is fine. At night, Hasumi performs the usual dark ritual he does after someone to experience Jehovah. He is working out while Mac the knife is playing in the background. He later drove out with his truck, burying tools and body bag at the back of the truck. The next scene shows a glimpse of Hasumi's past, a young Hasumi walking backward from the 2 unconscious bodies of his parents left behind him. His mother appears lifeless after a bloody stab to the right side of her chest. He, like a maniac who's been in the business, calmly got rid of the blood evidence on him by washing himself clean and burying someone's shoes. The young Hasumi fakes a dramatic and scene by hurting deliberately with a knife. He called the police for help, pretended to act as if he was restrained by someone, and hung up the call. He proceeds to complete his fake crime, and without reluctance, he violently threw to intensify the force of the attack, which caused a scar on his back. The next scene transitions to the present, where we see Hasumi waking up with his gaze fixated on one of his targets, the ravens. He then clicks on a strange red button that electrifies it. He steps out shirtless, picks up the deceased raven, and electrifies it. Meanwhile, the advisor seeks Kei and reveals information he found about Hasumi, and finds strange data, all of which links Hasumi to the various, including that of his tutor and his parents. The advisor is suspicious about the wave of at the high school where Hasumi worked. Unaware that the room is wired with secret microphones, the advisor delves into a further and more detailed investigation of Hasumi. The advisor reveals everything he found about Hasumi in his resume, showing that there were strange gaps in it. He explains that Hasumi's father was a doctor and was born in Tokyo, where they reside, but from the 3rd year of Hasumi's middle school, they switched to Kyoto, where Hasumi studied law, but dropped out after a month. He further reveals that Hasumi went abroad the next September to Harvard, where he graduated and took an MBA, but what he studied had nothing to do with the English that he now teaches. He then proceeded to the North American head office of Morgenstern, which is a European bank, but after 2 years, he left and came back to Japan, where he suddenly changed fields and became a teacher. The advisor further reveals that he followed other lines of investigation that showed that his father's clinic had gone out of business, which led to the demises of Hasumi's father and mother that were caused by an intruder. The advisor laments this, implying that he doesn't believe that the demises of the victims were. Hasumi eavesdrops on them as the room Kei and the advisor are in appears to be wired. Later that night, Hasumi follows the advisor on the same train secretly and confronts him, with only a few people around who weren't paying attention. Hasumi takes his chance and knocks the advisor out. He makes his execution look like by to cover up his crime. The next day, the school announces the advisor's demise. Kei comes to the realization that Hasumi had definitely wired the room they were in. Kei rushes to find the secret microphone in the room. He successfully finds it, but Hasumi appears out of nowhere. Kei bravely confronts Hasumi about the demise of the advisor. Kei brings out a knife to defend himself. Reika gets worried and comes looking for Kei, but she finds just Hasumi in the room alone, who is pretending to feel remorseful about the advisor. Reika asks about Kei, but Hasumi lies about not knowing his whereabouts. She doesn't buy it and gets suspicious, but leaves. Kei is tied up to a chair. Hasumi batters and tortures him with a hot iron, trying to get him to confess who he has told about his suspicions. Kei admits to being in charge of the cheating troupe and also confirms his accomplices. Hasumi tries and tries, but Kei doesn't say anything about telling anyone, which disturbs Hasumi. Hasumi drives his truck back home with a body bag and shovel, while Mac the Knife plays in the background. The next scene shows a flashback of Hasumi in the United States, where he first met Clay, his former accomplice. They began talking about the familiar song Mac the Knife, which happened to be Clay's go-to crime theme song. Hasumi recalls the lyrics. Clay loved Hasumi and noticed they had so much in common when it came to people for fun. Sounds like a Greek warlord. They went ahead to become partners in crime by taking together, as the scene showed them with buckets filled with organs and blood. Apparently, karma caught up with Clay as Hasumi unlived his partner, buried him in a barrel, and burned him like a steak, as they did not share the same aim of crime. The next scene shows Hasumi and two other men who warn him about never coming back to the States. The scene ends with the burnt Clay slicing the neck of Hasumi, revealing everything to just be a dream. Back to the present, Hasumi wakes up and sights Moonin, the Raven. He picks up his shotgun and aims for it, ensuring to end it as soon as possible. Later in the day, Hasumi brings Mia and the expensive car to the luxurious apartment for another date. Mia goes snooping around when Hasumi is in the shower. While snooping, she finds multiple phones in Hasumi's bag, including that of the missing school bully, which she confirms by the pictures on the phone. She confronts Hasumi and asks him about the phone. Hasumi continues with his lie and tells Mia that the forgot it while they went for a drink on the day the fight happened. He explains that the was drunk, so he forgot his phone. Mia doesn't buy it, as she believes that the person responsible for the disappearance is the same person who made the post about him. Hasumi becomes suspicious that Mia will find out the truth. Mia became his next target. He prepares Mia's getting ready to end her. The next day, a student records his classmates while at work, preparing for their school event. Later that day, a missing student came back, making another girl feel hurt, as her boyfriend, the school's was now the only one missing. Mia feels for her and runs to confront Hasumi about it again. Afterward, Mia is spotted by the two students as she runs, and they are both worried that she might meet with the PE teacher. At the same time, Mia is lured onto the school roof by Hasumi as she pesters him with the He knocks her out and subsequently throws her off the building, causing it to appear as a Suddenly, another student comes looking for Mia and is knocked out and butchered by Hasumi as she gets closer. He can't cover this murder up, so he decides to go on a school fatal spree and plans to implicate the teacher for it. So he calls the art teacher, who is at a fair. Students notice that there is bad service at the fair, and they realize that their network is being jammed. At the same time, Hasumi goes to his home and retrieves the firearm he'll use to execute his plans. As the lecturer arrives in the room, Hasumi knocks him out and uses his shoes as evidence for later. The students grow progressively suspicious as they notice their phones are being jammed. Kei's friends in particular are suspicious of Hasumi, and for a moment Hasumi begins his plans with 3 students in the room. Some students hear gunshots and come out instantly alongside the PE teacher. Hasumi then hands Mia's underwear to the PE teacher and shoots him. Fear intensifies with the students on the ground, and they are told by Hasumi that there is an armed intruder, and he advises them to go on the roof. The students panic and scatter, some following Hasumi and some not following him. Those who follow Hasumi trust him, and the others do not. They split up to look for the boy, who is supposed to meet a girl, while others build a barricade. Meanwhile, Hasumi goes and shoots the group of male students. Just like hunting birds, he keeps track of everyone by crossing out the class list of those students he has destroyed. Out of the blue, he hears a noise calling to him. He is hallucinating when he sees on his firearm his ex-ally, Clay, motivating him through their theme song, Mac the Knife. Afterward, he proceeds with his assassinations more enthusiastically. The students who have been waiting to enter the roof happily welcome him, but are shocked when he opens fire on them, one after the other. He then goes to hunt down the other students. Fortunately, a boy student escapes the school and asks for help from a man outside. But then, the boy decides to go back to attempt to rescue the girl student he is supposed to meet. Then, the female student is also trying to escape herself by climbing down the rope. Not long after, they successfully meet each other. Out of sheer delight, the boy screams her name, drawing Hasumi's attention from the window. Filled with determination, he tries to fight back using his archery skills. However, Hasumi with precise aim shoots them down. Hasumi's personified gun then speaks, urging him to hurry. Following the gun's prompt, Hasumi sets the corridor on fire, causing chaos. He then climbs the rope the girl used to escape. The students are too late to realize they need to untie the rope, and in their panic, they start blaming one another. Amidst the confusion, Hasumi appears before them, and they scatter, running for their lives. Hasumi, armed with his shotgun, chases the fleeing students. Meanwhile, Reika and her friend are overcome with fear and decide to hide. Reika suggests using the emergency escape chute as a means of escape. In the meantime, Hasumi encounters the art teacher's beloved, who notices that Hasumi is wearing the art teacher's shoes. This revelation leads him to understand that Hasumi is planning to frame the art teacher for all the art teacher's beloved tries to fight back, but is ultimately overpowered, and Hasumi finishes him off with a stab. In the meantime, Reika and her friend set up the escape chute and threw their classmates' bodies, dressed in their clothes, down the chute. This tricks Hasumi into thinking they are deceased. To be sure, Hasumi shoots the escape chute several times. Satisfied, he leaves, unaware that the bodies are not Reika and her friend. Afterward, Hasumi stages the art teacher's create a cover story. Shortly after, police and detectives swarm the scene, conducting a swift investigation. A police officer announces that there are 2 survivors, Rayaka and her friend, who could reveal Hasumi's true actions. Feigning concern, Hasumi tries to comfort them. Suddenly, Rayaka's friend, filled with rage, accuses him of being the assassin. Rayaka, still shaking, is unable to speak. The detective restrains Hasumi as he attempts to get closer to Rayaka. Later, Reika's friend walks by the nurse's office and remembers the recording device that captured the assassinated student's last words, which name Hasumi as the assassin. This evidence led to Hasumi's arrest. As Hasumi is being taken away, Reika desperately asks about Kei, who disappeared after the advisor's demise. Hasumi, drawing from Norse mythology, says it was God's will and that he was chosen to end the demons in the class, calling the 2 survivors ravens and referring to Reika as Munin. Reika's friend is terrified, thinking Hasumi is insane, but Reika realizes this is just the start of his sinister game. Finally, it's revealed that Mia survived. She quietly says Hasumi's name, adding to the unfolding mystery. The movie ends with us not at the edge of our seats, but sitting comfortably and imagining how the next part of this will be.